Welcome to This Week in High School Sports. I'm Teresa Whipple. Steve Willits, Sean Richards came through for us today.
Came through in a big way. Red Onion Burgers, our sponsor, providing us with a little bit of food to showcase and also to eat. We're going to have some of our guests help us with this maybe later on here, but a little bit of everything from Red Onion today. We've got a hot dog, fully loaded, Caesar salad, hamburger, fish and chips, just a little bit of an assortment of what you can get at Red Onion Burgers, and plenty more of where that came from as well. So we encourage folks to go to the website, redonionburgers.com. Definitely encourage them to order online. They're trying to push that a little bit right now, and they say you can get your food in 15 minutes or less if you do that. And also want to give a special shout out today, Sean and Lorraine, the owners of Red Onion, celebrating an anniversary today. So happy anniversary to the Richards.
Yeah, happy anniversary. And also a mention for Tuesday night, November 8th, Sean is sponsoring Shop with a Cop fundraiser, which is something he does every year. And it's to raise money from 11 to 8. You can drop by Red Onion, and 100% of the tips and 20% of the bill will go to the Shop with a Cop event, which basically happens in December, and law enforcement officers take children in need shopping for themselves and their families for the holidays.
Great cause.
Yeah, okay. Well, there's a lot going on, so why don't you get started with that?
Yeah, we will. And unfortunately, some of the news isn't as good as we wanted it to be. We were hoping for a little bit more. Girls soccer and girls volleyball, none of our teams from the school district, made it out of district playoffs. None of them advanced to state. We had one team that came within one match, and that was the Mount Lake Terrace Hawks. As a matter of fact, we have a picture we're going to put up right now. That's Leanne Weathersby, I believe?
Weatherby.
Weatherby, that's putting the ball over the net. Mount Lake Terrace coming within one set of winning a match against Burlington Edison that would have pushed them through to state. Didn't quite get it done, though, so none of the four schools, again, in soccer or volleyball making it on. We did have one group of athletes in the area that had a great weekend, though.
Yeah, they did.
Cross country from a few different schools. The state championships took place over the weekend in Pasco. Quite a few of our runners qualified for the state tournament. Many of them having a great showing there over in Pasco. Rather than just give you some stats and numbers and places and telling you about it, we brought two of those runners in today to talk a little more about not only how they did, but also how their teams did, and just what went into that weekend, and telling us all about just kind of what it's like to go over to Pasco to run in an event and then come home. So without further ado, here's that interview. The cross-country season wrapped up this past weekend, and with us right now, two of the members from the Edmonds-Woodway cross-country team, two runners that had very, very successful careers for the Warriors. Sydney Boland runs for the girls team, and then Matthew Park, who runs for the boys. Both just getting back from Pasco after a successful weekend. Congratulations, Sydney. I know you finished 12th for the girls, and Matthew, you finished 5th. You've got to feel pretty good about those times. Matthew, we'll start with you. You finished 24th last year. Top 5 sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. That was kind of the goal going in, was top 5. I think I was seeded 5th, so I didn't really want to let anyone from behind beat me. So I'm pretty satisfied with it, yeah.
You'll take that. And Sydney, again, 12th place finish. Did you have any goals coming in? And if so, did you achieve them?
Yeah, I just wanted to be in the top 15, so.
And number 12 does that, so very well done. We should also mention the teams. Your fellow classmates, they did a nice job as well. Sydney, the girls taking second place for the second year in a row. We should probably mention some of these ladies too. Yokino Parle finished 7th. Olivia Meter-Yetter finished in 8th. Stephanie Robluski finished 15th, correct? So if I'm doing my math there, that's 4 runners in the top 15. It's pretty impressive. I think I've got to think everybody was pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
Did the girls have any particular goals, and how did they feel about their race?
I think Olivia and Yuki wanted to finish a little bit higher, but the field was really competitive, so 7th and 8th was really good.
Now tell me about some of the other girls that were running over there with you as well from the Warriors.
Izzy Callan, she was our 6th runner, and then Cecilia, Stephanie's sister, came. And then, Yuki and Olivia. And then we also had Caitlin Rust, who was supposed to run, but she's injured, and she would have been our number 5. And then Thea McAfee, she came to help cheer us on, and she was also injured. So
very nice. And now we should mention too the way that the team championships work is that they take the top 5 scores. So losing Caitlin was a pretty big blow to the team. I mean, this is a squad who finished 1 point away from winning the state championship last year. Once Caitlin went down, did we kind of know that maybe the state championship might be a little out of reach, knowing that Holy Names had 5 really good runners? Or what was the? Did you talk about team goals on the way over? What was the strategy? Or
Yeah,
what was the talk?
I think we thought we had a chance of winning, and we didn't think they would beat us by as much as they did. But if we had Caitlin, I think we would have been a lot closer. But Cece's still a really strong runner, but Caitlin has a lot more experience.
So great job for the ladies. And then on the guys' side of things, Matt, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of your teammates and who they are and who was over there with you?
So Sam, he finished 20th, and then
That's
Lucas,
McLuhan.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sam McLuhan, and then Lucas Lacombra and Grant Christian, they finished right around each other, and then Dylan Hartona was our 5th runner there. So he didn't run at districts last week or 2 weeks ago, I guess, but coach brought him along because he thought he could help out the team, and he did.
And this is a team that finished on the boys' side of things. You finished 11th last year overall, so a 4th place finish for the team. I've got to think you guys feel pretty good about that as well.
Yeah, I was like waiting to get the individual awards, and then they all came running over, and they were like, "We got 4th!" Like they were all really pumped up, and I was like, "What? No way!" Like we were all really excited with it. We didn't really expect that.
Very nice. And we should mention this team, and maybe even a bigger honor. You finished 4th at the state championships this week. You did finish as a state champion, though, earlier this season, and we're going to put that picture up right now. It's a picture of the boys team that won the academic state championship this year with a 3.83 GPA, I think, for
Yeah,
cumulative. What was that moment like for you guys? I've got to think that's something that you're all pretty proud of.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think no one really expected that, but I don't know, we kind of like to hang it over the girls' head a little bit.
I'm glad you said that because we were just going to ask. I know when we were talking off air a few moments ago, Sid, you mentioned that. What has it been like since the guys have won this championship? And did we think maybe another team had a better shot at it than the boys?
Well, we thought that, I mean, if one of us were to win, the girls would win, and so we were kind of confused how.
So are you saying the girls study a little bit harder than the boys
Yeah.
in this particular
Yeah.
case? Would you give her that, or is that?
I mean, it hasn't really. We kind of won, but I mean.
So how do
whatever.
they rib you? What sort of things are they saying right now? Are they asking if you need tutoring help? Is that what I
Yeah,
heard?
they're always saying, well, if you guys want to bring your homework on the bus, we can help you, stuff like that.
So you won't be able to do that anymore, Matthew. So I hope you
Yeah.
got all the fun out of that one that you could. But
Yeah, we did.
But hey, congratulations on that. That's a big deal. Tell us a little bit about this trip. I mean, you go to Pasco every year for the state tournament, the state championships. You're both in your 2nd year doing this. What is that like? I mean, the races themselves are on a Saturday. When exactly do you go over, and do you go over together? Do you go over on a bus? Sydney, I'll start with you. When do you end up leaving to go to Pasco?
Well, we go to school for like part of first period, and then we go in vans over to Pasco, and we set up at the course, and then check into the hotel and just hang out.
So you actually went to part of your first period, though. They didn't.
Yeah.
That seems interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And now, Matthew, for you guys, you get over there. I've got to think when you're racing in a big race like this, probably easier to sleep in your own bed than in a hotel. Is it something the team enjoys? Is it kind of a fun bonding experience? What's it
Yeah,
like?
it's kind of a fun bonding experience. I mean, you might not get the same sleep as you do in your own bed, I guess, but it's just fun to hang out like away from home, kind of, and just. I don't know, it's just a fun experience always being in the hotel.
Sure. Moments you'll never forget later on down the road,
Yeah.
that's for certain. You ran this race at a golf course, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What was the course like? And course you enjoy, course you'd rather not run on? Where do you stand on that, Sid?
Well, it's not my favorite course. In the first 200 meters, you go up a really big hill, and then it's just like rolling hills throughout the whole thing. So it's pretty tough.
Hmm. Matt, what about you? Are you a fan of the course at all?
Well, coming into it, I thought that it would be a little bit faster than it was, just based on some of the like last year's times and stuff. But it didn't turn out to be that fast. So I mean, I don't know. It was still fun though. So
Sure. Now, looking at it, I mean, certainly for you, Sydney, you've got so many teammates out there. Is there a strategy that goes into it? You often see when you look at big events, when there's teams together, they kind of run in packs, if you will, or one of them will kind of veer off at some point. Is there a Warriors team strategy when you guys are running big events?
Well, we don't really talk to our coach about having a strategy, but usually Olivia, Yuki, and Stephanie start out together, and I start a little bit back, and then they break up, and yeah, we just try to catch up to each other.
So it's kind of everybody for themselves and running
Yeah.
their own race, so to speak.
Yeah.
Now, Matt, what about you? When you're running with, I know Sam obviously has some pretty quick times too. Do two of you ever run together at all when you're out there? Or is it kind of you do your thing, I'll do mine?
Maybe for the first like half mile or so, but usually I start out a little bit faster than him, and I like to just kind of pick out a person who I think I can run with that's in the race too, and try to just hang on to them.
And it seems to have worked for both of you. You've had great years so far. Tell me a little bit about your coach too, Coach Bonnie. I know he's been around for a while. He's coached Olympians. He's coached at the college level. What has he meant to the development and growth of you guys as runners and as a team, Sid?
Well, he has a lot of coaching experience, so you can always trust his advice. And like none of us are ever worried he's going to be mad at us after a performance. He always is proud of us, no matter how we do.
Sure. And Matthew, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, he's nice to have because you see like some of these, like I don't know, just some of the other schools, their coaches don't have very much experience. They're trying to just get thrown into the job or so. And just knowing that Al has so much like on his resume, just you can always trust him with everything he says, pretty much.
Sure. So again, the cross country season has come to an end. What's next? I know both of you participate in track in the spring. Doing anything in between now and track season, or is it kind of just more or less get ready for track?
Well, we have one more race. It's 2 weeks from now is Border Clash, so the top finishers in Oregon and top finishers in Washington compete in Portland. And then, after that, it's just off season, so we'll continue training.
So a little relaxation, and then also a lot of getting ready for track, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Now, what about you, Matthew? What are your plans?
Yeah, it was, I qualified for Border Clash also, so in 2 weeks we'll head down there to the Nike like headquarters to run a race there, and then after that there's like one indoor race, but then it's pretty much all getting ready for the track season.
And let us know again what are both of your events that you're doing in track this year?
800, 1600, and 3200.
Okay.
I want to do the 3200 and 1600, but I think Al kind of wants me to do the 800 as well, but I don't really like the 800.
Well, you did pretty well in the 800 last year, so I can see why. So again, great season for both of you. Great finish for not only you as individuals, but as for your teams as well. So congratulations. Thanks for coming on with us, and best of luck throughout the school year and also through track season. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's nice to see those students who are excelling academically as well as athletically.
Indeed it is, and it's nice to see that both the girls and the boys teams excel in the classroom. The fact that the girls have enough to back it up and to come at the guys with hey, we deserve to be considered in that conversation too.
Yeah.
Nice to see young student athletes bragging about the right things, which is what they're getting done in the classroom.
That's right.
And I should also mention too, other runners that were over in Pasco that we want to give a little bit of a shout out to. On the boys side of things, running at the 3A state tournament, Cameron Sanders from Meadowdale finished in 23rd place. His Maverick teammate, Colin Nechtel, finished in 45th. And directly behind him, a friend of the show, Luell Wolde, who we had in here just about, I think it was 3 weeks ago now.
I think so.
He finished in 46th place. Malia Pivic, speaking of somebody who was in the studio along with Luell, she finished 6th overall, so a great finish for Malia. And then we have the Mount Lake Terrace Hawks, who, if you'll remember and recall, they now compete at the 2A level on the state level. So they ran in a separate race, and in that race, on the boys' side, Nick Ladick finished in 39th place. And then for the girls, Catherine Gustafson finished in 22nd, Jessica On 33rd, and Sophia Nelson 51st. So Wesco was very well represented, and the Edmonds School District very well represented.
Yeah, it's great to see that. All right, now football. What a weekend!
Yeah, what a weekend indeed. Playoff football. This
Yeah.
was the Week 10 Quad District playoffs, I guess is what we're calling it now. It's postseason play, but until you get to the next round, the state doesn't recognize it as the state tournament, but it's still playoffs.
Right.
And we had 3 of our teams make it. Get the bad news out of the way first. Edmonds-Woodway coming up a bit short. Had a great game over at Edmonds Stadium on Friday night. They lose to Lakes 21-14. Capaccio Cherry, the sophomore, and we keep mentioning his name week in and week out. 34 carries, 176 yards, and 2 touchdowns in a losing effort, but a nice season for the Warriors. They fought all season long after getting off to a little bit of a rough start this year. Came on very strong at the end and lost a game that could have gone either way. Just one team had to lose, and unfortunately it was them.
Right.
The other 2 teams doing very well, though. Friday night, first of all, we'll go Saturday night because we've got a little fun interview coming up for Friday night. Saturday night, Meadowdale, they were taking on a Lakeside team, a team that's coached by, I should mention, Casey Selfridge. We mention that because when Casey's not coaching the Lakeside football team, he's a biology teacher at Meadowdale. So a little bit of a rivalry there
Wow.
from the students and the teacher. He also used to be on the Meadowdale staff for quite a few years. And so he brought his Lakeside Lions into Edmonds Stadium. And early on, it looked like Lakeside was going to make this a very one-sided affair. It was 22-0 in the first quarter. Meadowdale comes storming back. They get 22 points in the second quarter, so it's a tie game. Lakeside comes out in the third quarter. They score the first 10 points. Here we go again. Meadowdale comes back and they take the lead with the final 14 points of the third quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, both teams exchanging 4 different touchdowns back and forth. Lead changed 6 times in this game. Final score was Meadowdale 50, Lakeside 46. So the Mavericks move on to the state tournament. A few of the players that we want to mention individually, Drew Tinkstead, who got off to a really rough start on the night. He threw 2 interceptions in the first 2 drives of the game, rebounded and just played a masterful game after that. He threw for 3 touchdowns in the game. Kellen Marshall had a huge night. He rushed for 172 yards and 2 touchdowns. We should mention Tinkstead also rushed for 65 yards and 2 touchdowns, so he did all right. Jashawn Butler, only 9 carries, but he made the most of those, 152 yards. And then Zach Plummer had 2 touchdown receptions. So Meadowdale getting the job done. We do have a picture we want to put up there as well. Will Schaefer, who's always playing his best, had another nice night, and you can see it was a little bit stormy out there as well as he goes to catch a pass. I think he had 4 or 5 receptions in the game too. So great job by the Mavericks to persevere, not only with the weather, but with the 22-point deficit. And they now move on. They'll play Kelso this coming Friday night, a game that we will broadcast on Sound Life Sports Network. But one other team we want to mention, the Lynnwood Royals. Lynnwood had to travel down to Seattle. They played Garfield. Very similar to the Meadowdale game. Lynnwood falls behind 17-0 in the first quarter. They come back. They take a 21-20 lead at halftime. They end up outscoring Garfield 28-17 in the fourth quarter. There's a lot of math here. There's a lot of numbers. They win the game 63-45. So 108 points scored total in the game. Outstanding night. Alton Hammond accounted for 7 touchdowns. He rushed for 4. He threw for 3. Riley Johnson had over 140 yards receiving and scored 3 touchdowns. Mikey Kirkman rushed for over 100 yards and he had 3 touchdowns. So we decided to bring Mikey Kirkman into the studio along with Jacob Laban, who's the big offensive and defensive lineman who was doing a nice job of blocking for all those guys we just mentioned. And we had a little conversation with them not only about how the game went the other night, but also how their season has gone thus far. Season that's seen them win 8 games and get to the state playoffs for the first time for the Royals in 21 years. And here's that interview. The Lynnwood Royals football team making their first state tournament appearance since 1995. It's 21 years. These guys right next to me here, they weren't even born yet back in 1995. And now they play for a football team that not only is 8-2 on the year, but they're ready for the next round after defeating Garfield 63-45 on Friday night. Mikey Kirkman, Jacob Laban, guys, congratulations not only on a fantastic season, but on a huge victory the other night.
Thank you.
Jacob, let's just start with you. 63 points and a victory. Had to be a nice bus ride home from Seattle's Memorial Stadium.
I was asleep on the bus, actually, but everyone was pretty beat up, but you could just tell the energy in the air. Everyone was like, wow, we really just went to Seattle and did that.
So you're the guy that sleeps through anything then, huh? I mean, is that kind of how it is for you?
I guess, yeah.
Mikey, what about you? Were you sleeping on the bus, or were you guys celebrating a little bit?
I was trying to get my tape off the whole time. My ankle was taped up like crazy, and we didn't have like the equipment to take it off, so I just had to wrap it off, and it was a whole bus ride.
Sure. Well, hey, you have to do that as well, right?
Yeah.
Now, before we get into some of the details from the game, we need to talk a little bit about your season. You both are seniors, very senior-heavy team this year, and this was kind of the team that everybody has been wondering about for the last few years. How special are they going to be by the time they're all seniors? You went undefeated as freshmen on the freshman team. As you've kind of made your way through the system there and come up the ranks, you guys have kind of dominated a lot of teams throughout the course of your 4 years. What has it meant for you guys to kind of stick together and to get into the playoffs and to have an 8-2 record right now?
We've really been a brotherhood these 4 years. They mean a lot to me. I don't know what I'd be without them. This team is family first.
And well, Mikey, you mentioned to me you have a whiteboard at home that you wrote a little something on back in middle school. Tell me about that board and what that meant.
So in middle school, I just got motivated, and that's kind of when I started working really hard, like for football. And I got a whiteboard, and I wrote I rode on it state, and I just hung it up in my weight room, and it's been there ever since.
So for the last 5 years, you've had that board, hoping that it'll mean something that you'll
Yeah.
eventually get to state, and here
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah.
Nicely done. Now let's go into some details on that game. Again, we mentioned it was at Seattle Memorial Stadium. Kind of a cool place to play a football game. I know for my generation anyway, that was always kind of the goal. You wanted to play a game at Memorial. It's kind of it's an older building, but it has a lot of history and a lot of tradition. What did it mean for you guys to be playing underneath the Space Needle at the Seattle Center?
Well, I've never played in Seattle before, but just walking into the stadium and looking up and seeing the Space Needle was something else. So I knew we were in a stadium with some history, and it was nice.
And it's a pretty big stadium too, Mikey. A
Yeah.
little bit imposing. Is it kind of intimidating when you walk in there?
Yeah,
first?
it is. I was a little shocked when I walked in, and I played there freshman year, but it's just every time you walk in there, it's just crazy that you're actually going to be playing in there.
Cool experience. Now, going through the game a little bit, didn't get off to the start you guys wanted to. 17-0 in the first quarter. Garfield was ahead. What's the mentality for the team at that point? Are you getting worried? Are you thinking that maybe we shouldn't be here? Maybe this isn't going to happen tonight? Mikey, I'll start with you. What were your thoughts during the first quarter?
I was nervous, but I knew that we've gone and played hard teams before, and we just had to work hard, and eventually we got it done, and we did what we had to.
Jacob, what was your mindset at that
Well,
moment?
I was comparing it actually to the third quarter of the Snohomish game. I knew that we let them go up by 2 touchdowns when we had a good first half, and I was like, all right, we kept our head level then. We came back and we won that game. We can do the same here.
And you guys came storming back. Matter of fact, you took the lead before halftime. It was 21-20 at the half. Mikey, an interesting first half for you. You actually rolled your ankle pretty early in the game and had to get taped up. And yet you still went out and you had over 130 yards of offense and you scored 3 touchdowns on the night. How were you feeling throughout the game? Was there just so much adrenaline to where you weren't feeling it, or what was it like for you?
I definitely felt it. Like, I couldn't cut right, but I knew I just had to play hard and play through it and just be tough about it and just hit hard and cut left, I guess.
And apparently cutting left was good enough because you had a heck of a night. Should also mention DeLon Smiley Tatum running the ball a lot this year as well. You guys are very different from one another in terms of your styles and size. Tell me a little bit about how that's worked out for you guys and how the change of pace maybe helps to keep the defense on their toes a little bit.
Yes. So basically, what we do is they have me run the ball, and I just smash him, and then DeLon just runs past him next time around. And I'm blocking for him a lot, so he appreciates that, and I appreciate him reading my blocks most of the time. And it's just a good relationship. We call each other. He calls me Thunder, and I call him Lightning.
So Thunder and Lightning indeed on Friday night, and it helps to have big guys like this up in front too, right?
Yeah,
Number
definitely.
77 here.
Yep, the linemen are a huge help.
Yeah, great season from you guys. And a lot of seniors, the guys we were just talking about earlier, all of you guys, pretty much I think the entire line is seniors.
Yeah, we have one guy. Our left tackle is Tommy Nee. He's
Tommy,
a
that's
junior.
right.
Yeah.
But the
But
rest of the
he-
team gets, let's mention some of these guys too and who they are.
Yeah, we got Aaron Gaines at left guard. Like I said, Tommy at left tackle, and then we got Wybark at right guard. And
Stephen Weber.
Yeah, Stephen Wybark at right guard, and Nathan Junkin at right tackle, or Harris Cuddick at right tackle, and then Nathan Junkin rotates in.
So it's 6 guys there that are all doing a fantastic job up there, and a lot of those guys are also playing on the defensive side of things too.
Yeah.
And you guys are you get tired at all there? You both, most of the guys you mentioned are playing both ways throughout the game.
Yeah, we feel it, but that's what we've been working for. We knew we had to be the more conditioned team, so.
Well, and let's mention that conditioning. Garfield looked like they were winded in the second quarter. We were watching their players rotate in and out. They just looked tired, and I think your coaches picked up on that too, because all of a sudden you guys did a lot of no-huddle offense and were trying to run as many plays as you could. Was that something that you guys noticed in practice during the week when you were watching film? Was it something that you picked up on early on in the game? Where were you guys at in terms
Yeah,
of seeing that?
watching film, we saw that as the game went on, they just get worse and worse, conditioning wise, they just get gassed. So we knew as soon as they start to rotate guys in or start to slow down, that's when we have to pick up the pace, because we knew we'd be the more in shape team.
And you definitely were. And one of the guys who had a huge second half, and not a big surprise here, he's had a huge season. Number 5's pretty good.
Yeah.
Your quarterback, Alton Hammond, he's extremely good. 279 yards passing and 4 touchdown passes, one of which went to you. He also ran for 178 yards and scored 3 touchdowns. So doing the quick math, he accounted for 7 touchdowns. Of course, we're talking about Alton Hammond. What is it like to play with Alton, Mikey, for you? I've got to think it makes your job a lot easier knowing that you've got a quarterback who's multidimensional and can take off running, and it probably opens up some things for you as well.
Yeah, I just have a lot of confidence in him, and I know that if he needs to get a pass off, he'll get it off, and if he needs to run the ball, he'll run the ball. And he's good with reading blocks too, most of the time, and I appreciate him a lot.
Now, Jacob, for you guys, you never know which way Alt's running, right? He could go right and then start going right and then cut back left. Keeps you guys on your toes, I would think, a little bit.
It does, yeah, because 1 second you'll be like, we'll be pass blocking, and next thing you know, he'll be taking off, and it's like, wait, where'd he go? Where'd he come from? So we have to just not only watch out for them, but we also have to see if he breaks the pocket and if we need to go block downfield for him. And
one other guy I want to make sure we give a little shout out to, Riley Johnson had a huge night. 7 catches, 3 of which were for touchdowns and over 140 yards. But really, it was a team effort. In the fourth quarter was insane. I think you guys outscored them 28-17 in the quarter.
Yeah.
And then nobody scored in the last 4 minutes of the game. So really, all those points coming in the first 8 minutes of the quarter. Had you guys ever been a part of a game like that where there's 45 points in 8 minutes?
No, it was back and forth. It was wild.
Indeed, and I should also mention that the game got a little bit chippy in the fourth quarter. I noticed Garfield, I think once they realized they were going to lose the game, losing their cool, losing their tempers, a few different instances where they were trying to pick fights. Obviously, they have nothing to lose at that point. Their season's coming to an end. If any of you would have reacted, you could have been suspended for next week's game. Is that something that you kind of reminded yourselves of during the game? Were the coaches talking to you about it? I know talking to a few of the coaches after the game, they mentioned they saw some of that on film, so I think they probably knew it was coming. Mikey, what about you? Did you was there any temptation at all to kind of mix it up a little bit, or?
Not really for me. I was just focusing on being a good sport and just playing my hardest. But what I would do is in the huddle, I would always tell the guys, keep your composure. It's not worth it. Just keep on playing hard. And that's what we did.
We'll make sure we put up a photo of you too, Mikey. We have an action shot from you earlier in the season. And photo's right there. It's a nice action shot of you running the football. So we wanted to make sure we got that. Jacob, we got one of you too, but not quite an action shot. But not the first time I've interviewed you this year.
Yeah.
Player of the game against Shorewood earlier this season. So again, having a great year for you guys. I'll ask you both now. You have to start getting ready for Lincoln this week. It's a big game. You're in the round of 16 right now. It's a road game, too. You have to go down to Tacoma Friday night, 7 p.m. It's early in the week right now. Do we know much about Lincoln yet, or is that still to come?
They're a lot like Garfield, actually, but their line is a lot bigger and better. They have, I think my teammates were saying, they have a 4-star left tackle. So their line will be more of a challenge, but I think we can still come out on top.
Okay, and Mikey, what about you? Do you know much about these guys yet, or are you going to start getting caught up as the week goes on?
I don't know much about them, but I'm planning on watching film like every night and every day during every passing period during school.
Yeah,
just watching it all the time.
It's
really
lose or go home
helps.
now, right?
Yep.
So we will see a little bit longer bus ride too. So if you want to get some sleep on the way home, Jacob, you'll have a little more time to do that. But we should mention again, the game is Friday night. We just found this out earlier today. Friday night, 7 p.m. It's Lynnwood versus Lincoln. Lose the game, season comes to an end. Even if it did, you guys have had a fantastic year. But if you win the game, you're into the quarterfinals next week. So certainly a lot of incentive for you guys to do well, right? And I think you guys are going to go out and give it your best effort regardless. So, hey, again, Mikey, Jacob, thank you very much for coming on. And we will be sure to give you more updates next week as to how the Lynnwood Royals do against the Lincoln Abes.
Well, not only are those two great guys, but they were hungry when they got here.
Yeah, the food that we brought in from Red Onion, it's no longer
gone.
in the back here. It's gone, and I was going to eat some of that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mikey and Jacob, getting it done on the field and getting it done at the dinner table too, apparently.
Yes, yeah. They just inhaled it. I was watching them while we were taping the other segment. Anyway.
Great
So,
testimonial
yeah,
for Red
Sean,
Onion.
they love your food. So there you go. All right. So what's happening on football this week?
Well, those two hungry guys that were in here just a little while ago, they've got a big game coming up.
Yeah.
Lynnwood heading down to Lincoln, the famous Lincoln Bowl in Tacoma. They're going to play at 7 p.m. Friday night. We're not broadcasting that game, so if you're a Lynnwood Royals fan, you need to head down south and go catch that. And then on Friday at 6 p.m., Meadowdale, the Mavericks will be playing a home game at Edmonds Stadium against Kelso. We encourage you to get out to the game and watch it, but if for some reason you can't, we wouldn't mind you tuning in to SoundLiveSportsNetwork.com and watching us broadcast that game as well.
That's right. Okay. And swimming, what do we have going on?
We have the Swimming State Championships coming up next weekend. Federal Way, two of our swimmers making it in individual events. Try saying that 10 times fast. Kelly Morgan from Meadowdale, who we brought in with her sister a couple weeks ago, she's qualified for the 200 freestyle and the 100 butterfly. And then Morgan Broadhead from Edmonds-Woodway, she'll be swimming in the 100 freestyle and the 100 breaststroke. And then both of those two that we just mentioned will be down there with their teammates swimming in the 400 freestyle relay. So that's Edmonds-Woodway and Meadowdale each sending a team down there for that event. Again, that's in Federal Way over the weekend. There might even be a few other swimmers that we missed there too. I know they qualify for state throughout the year, so we'll keep track of those as best we can and get you more information next week as to how all of them do in Federal Way.
Okay, good. Well, and remember the Shop with a Cop fundraiser at Red Onion Burgers on Tuesday. That's Election Day, November 8th. It starts at 11 a.m., goes till 8 p.m., and that benefits the Shop with a Cop event during the holidays for kids in need. So be sure to stop by for that, and we will have results for you next week. Thanks for tuning in.